Hi, Helen.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm all right. You've got all curly. I like your curly.
No, it's my normal hair. I just normally straighten it for events and things.
It looks nice, curly. It looks,
No, it's a mess. Yes. How are you? Have you had a good week?
yeah, good, good, good. Um, Busy, but good. I'm just
Hi.
letting everyone in. Hi, Amanda. I've been going through everyone's press releases last night and this morning, and there just isn't time, to really look at them all properly in advance of, today. But I will
Yeah.
get round to all of them, of course, in good time. Everyone's doing really well, I think, so far.
I agonized over it for about 4 days.
I know, but the thing is, I think once you start, then you can improve it.
Mm,
It's like writing an article.
yeah,
You have to just get something down, and then you through the editing, you get it right. So that's
yeah,
the only way you can start is by starting, and then
yeah,
it it takes a few goes, it takes a few edits, and also, obviously you need input, you need other people to go, oh, that's clear, that's not clear.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Bree's not with us today. She's doing a speaking event. Uh, Hi, Richie. Hi. Richie got hers back to me first, so she gets the back one. Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Did the comments make sense, Richie?
In all honesty, Marina, I've not had. I was hoping to have a chance to look over, but I haven't yet. But I will.
Don't
I
worry.
will get back to you.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
Don't worry. I mean, one of the things I noticed with yours was there was repetition of information, and that's confidence. It's having the confidence to just say stuff
Yeah,
and not feel that you have to keep repeating it, because if it's down there, it's there. It's that information is represented, and you can move on. Because obviously
yeah.
the challenge is to get it all on a page.
I found that really difficult.
It's very, very difficult, but it's important because no journalist is going to read a two-page. It's going to read a two-page
Yeah,
release. They just haven't got the time. The
it's
exception,
really helpful.
the exception being that if you include a lot of statistics, which I think you did and Marie did as well, you can put them on an extra page. You,
Yeah.
you can put them on an extra page, but the press release itself needs to go on a page.
Recording in progress.
Oh, we've got a bit of an echo. Uh, Candy, I've got you, and I
Sorry, I'm going to leave here.
think one of them's echoing. So, anyone else? I haven't read all of your press releases, but how have you found writing a press release? Would anyone like to say what they've found interesting or difficult?
Mine is just, it's a quick one that I've sort of done with chat just to get something down on the page because with all of these things, usually the things that turn out the best usually are like pulling teeth for me. So it's one of those, it's a good sign when it's like that. So I just had to go, right, help me do something just so I can get some, like you say, get something on the page and then you can add to it and things. So it's not really
Yeah,
in any shape or form at the minute, but it's a starter for 10, as I think I said in my notes. So
yeah, yeah.
um
You've used ChatGPT, have you, to write it?
I use that at the minute just to go because I've been having a few conversations this week. And I had a really good conversation with my coach yesterday, which ended up being quite deep and meaningful and emotional. But I had a sort of some highlights from that, and also I've had other things that I've been working on, not just throughout the week, but the other things that I've been working on lately. So I just kind of went, and I was running out of time, so I was like, right, blah, 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 blah. This is, and what I've been doing with the transcripts is also feeding them in. And so that it's got the information that we've spoken about from the last couple of weeks. So that's been really helpful. So the kind of thread of the discussions is going in there. So that's getting
Good,
built in as well.
good.
So it's actually really helped me work out that it's not just ADHD coaching, it is more and this has always been the thread of my work is identity, and that identity shift. So it's helping solidify the process as
That,
well as,
that's
do
that,
the press release.
That's really good. I would just say, a word of warning with.
No, I'm not going to use that as the final thing. It was just to
Yeah,
get something to you that
yeah.
I've done that as I say to get
Yeah,
started, and then what I'll do is I'll go in and Gwenify it kind of thing.
and humanize it. Yes, that's what I was going to say because
Yeah,
AI,
yeah.
AI, a couple of people used AI to produce their press releases in the last group. And one person did it brilliantly because she was obviously used to humanizing her work. But a couple of others, it was really obvious it was written by AI. There are certain.
Yeah, no, this isn't. That's not the finest. It's not the final version at all. It was
No,
just really
no,
no
I
need to
know,
get something on the
I'm just
page.
making
So
this
yeah,
comment for everyone's
yeah,
benefit.
yeah, yeah,
It's fine to use it to sort of synthesize what you want to say, but that you then have to humanize it because AI is very recognizable in a press release, but also
yeah.
I have to say that journalists, I maybe already said this to you, I can't remember, but journalists have an inbuilt hatred of AI because it is
I can imagine. Yeah,
stealing their jobs in
their
the
jobs.
industry. And so it's really important to have that human tone.
Yeah, yeah. No, as I say, once I've got something down, I can
Yeah,
like speak into it and stuff. It was a case of I had other things on, and I was like,
no.
my usual run up against the deadline. So I was like, right, let's just get something on the page, and then we can take it from there. So you can sort of say, yeah, that's the direction you want to be going in.
Yeah,
No, that's load of rubbish,
that's
or
fine.
whatever you want to say, and then we'll go from
That,
there.
that's fine. I'm making the comment for everyone's benefit, Gwen. I'm not accusing you or anything like that.
Oh
I
no, no, no.
totally understand, but I just wanted to give that word of warning about AI not being.
Yeah, because as you say, you don't want to then sort of put your heart and soul into it and then get dismissed because it comes
Yeah,
across as AI. So no, I appreciate
exactly,
that.
exactly. So I thought it would be useful to look at one of the press releases, if that's okay. Can we look at yours, Amanda? Can we look at it as a group? Are you comfortable with that? Just because it's good. Everybody's attempts were good, but I thought it would be good to just look at what needs to be worked on so that you understand the sort of thought process. So just
Okay.
give me a second.
It's like getting your homework
Oh,
ready in front of class.
Your homework marks in front
Big
of
red marks all over it.
there we go. There we go. So here we go. Press release. So this is Amanda's press release. The inner ally, why so many capable female founders look confident on the outside while constantly doubting themselves on the inside. And why confidence isn't actually the issue. I feel like why confidence isn't actually the issue is a really important point here. The rest,
Okay, yeah.
the rest of it, I feel like we've seen before,
Yeah.
not new. So you might want
Okay.
to change it to something like the real reason why capable female founders look confident on the outside
Yeah.
and why confidence, yeah, etc. Also,
Yeah.
you've used the inner ally. Have you used it elsewhere
Yeah.
in the press release?
Yeah. It's specific to me, and instead of saying, I don't know, like on the example press release you sent us, I think it was Rachel. She was burnout expert, and I was like, I went through so many, and subconscious specialist, or even just saying hypnotherapist. But for me, going into the press, it's much more about building my brand around the inner ally,
I think it's great.
and get.
I think
Oh,
it's.
okay.
I think it's
I'm
great.
trying to justify it.
No, I think it's great. I think it's great because you explain it further down that you're a transformational
Yeah.
therapist. I would just
Yeah.
say, after Amanda Cole, you need to put comma, the inner ally says so much.
Okay.
You need to sort of just draw,
It links back.
just
Sure. Okay.
mention it 2 or 3 times so it's clear that that's what you're calling yourself.
Yeah.
And you're linking transformational hypnotherapist and women's mental health guide with the inner ally so that anyone reading it gets it straight away. Okay, that's what she does.
Okay.
That's how she changes lives. I think the rest is pretty straightforward. You might need to cut your quote a little bit, it's quite long.
Yeah. it was so much longer initially, and that was the cut down version. And I looked at it and I was like, I'm not going to be able to get the bullet points on.
Where it says as more women build businesses, you might want to put a
Mm,
stat in there saying in the last
okay.
in the last year, 57,000 or whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's I don't know if you want to direct this at a particular demographic because you could tie it in with the fact that women of a certain age have no choice but to build businesses
Yeah.
because they can't get a job.
Yeah. There is a stat around, I think the most women starting their own business are between 40 and 59.
So you could put that in as a stat and put
Okay.
and put, many finding they have no choice. You could put that in
Mm,
for a bit of added drama if you wanted. And you could also link that to the confidence thing if you wanted. You could say,
okay.
many having lost their jobs and finding their confidence at an all-time low. If you could do that. I don't know if that would be overcomplicating it. You see what you think.
Okay.
But it's good to build your argument, and these things can build your
Yeah.
argument. I think the available to comment is good. Perhaps cut it down to 4.
Yeah, I just kind of chucked them in at the last minute because I was running out of time. So I feel like I need to work on them a bit.
I'd say receiving without guilt is probably the weakest one because I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Taking money for their services.
okay. So charging. So you would want to
Yeah, I'll put charging. Yeah.
struggling to charge what they're worth. Women struggling to charge
Yeah.
what they're worth. That's what it is, isn't it? Um,
Yeah.
when you've got it sort of to the next second draft, you need to do a little bit of making it reader friendly. So you want to do things
Okay.
like Amanda Cole is an accredited. That section you would want to
Yeah.
have in bold, maybe in a smaller point size.
Oh, okay.
So bold so you can see it better, but smaller point size so it fits better. And I would say you've got quite a lot of links there. Again, can you pick one of those? You have to have all of those.
No, well, one's my email and then I can just have my website if that's, yeah.
Maybe the Substack is worth if your Substack is good and you write a lot, I would keep it.
This Substack has probably got more around at the moment, more around what the article's about and the fact that it's the Inner Ally and the podcast is attached to it as well.
So again, I would get them all on one line or 2 lines it would be,
Yeah.
wouldn't it? And a smaller point size.
Okay.
Because if someone's interested in you, they're gonna, they've got their glasses on, they can read it. Do you know what I mean? The main
Yeah.
that needs to be big and stand out is your headline, your name. So where your name is mentioned, put that in bold.
Hmm.
As I say, cut your quote a bit because that is a bit long.
Yeah.
And get another stat in about women building businesses. Because if you're going for this
Yeah.
market, you have to become
Mm.
a voice for women in business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this will limit this talking about
Mm.
women in business rather than women is definitely
Mm.
good niching, and I think that's a good idea. But it'll make it harder to get into magazines like, say, Stylist or Grazia because they're not business magazines.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the more you can support your argument that more and more women
Mm.
are building businesses, the better.
Yeah. Okay.
Then it
That
makes
makes sense.
your pitch stronger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Thank you.
But I don't think you've got a very long way to go to get this right. It just needs
Okay. That's a relief.
tightening up, a bit more evidence. Also, your bullet points can probably go in italics, maybe. Just do
Okay.
do little clever things to make things stand out, so it doesn't just look like a big block of text.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll
Brilliant. Thank you.
close that down, and bear with me. Bear with me. So this week we're talking about press kits. And some of you may have heard of press kits. Hang on, let me get on the right page. Everything's happening very slowly on my computer today. It must be the heat. Building your press kit and making contact. So, have you all heard of press kits? No, okay. Press kits tend to be more relevant to companies rather than individuals, but people always ask me, what's a press kit? Should I have one? The answer is you don't have to have a press kit. If you are dead set on doing loads of press, it's a good idea to have a press kit because it's basically a collection of all the stuff you need to get in the press that you can send out, you might contact, I don't know, BBC News, and they might say, oh, we'd love to have you on. Can you tell us a bit more about you? Please send your press kit. And then you'd send it over, and your press kit would have your media bio, which is just a short description of who you are, what you do, why you do it. I'll show you a media bio in a second. Your press release, high-res images of you, if you have products, if you have a book jacket, if you have a book, the book jacket. So it would be all the images that relate to you. You might have images of you in action, if you're I don't know if you, Helen, I don't know if you deliver talks as part of your work, or if, or maybe there's images of you in the workplace or talking to students. Sandy, there might be pictures of you doing a color consultation with one of your clients. Those kind of pictures are great because they tell more of a story, don't they? They show more of your expertise. A press kit would also include, if you have them, details of some case studies. So you might have, Helen, you might have, a young person who you helped with career advice who can talk about, how that helped them and how they landed an internship or something as a result of that. Or, Amanda, you might have a case study of a woman who struggled to charge what she was worth, and talks about how you managed to shift her limiting beliefs, etc. You can also include your origin story. An origin story really is just how I came to do what I do, why I do it. I can help if anyone's interested in help with writing an origin story. I'm very happy to help with that. But it's really important for me to stress here that you don't need a press kit. It's just a good idea, okay? A press release and a picture of you is plenty, okay, if you're contacting the press. So your media bio, which I just mentioned, is a short summary highlighting who you are, what you do, your key achievements. I'm going to show you one in a second, but the purpose is to pique the interest of the journalist. So you're not listing accolades, you're not listing all the awards you've won and all the different places you've worked. It's more about what you do, why you do it, what value you bring to people. So it's written in the third person. So this is my bio. So just so you can see how one is written. I have to provide this a lot for, if I go on a podcast, if I'm going to be in a press article, if I've actually written an article, sometimes I'm asked to provide a bio. This is my bio for entrepreneurship. I've got a different one for journalism, okay? But this is for entrepreneurship, so I don't need to read it to you. I'm gonna send. I can send you this if you want an example of a media bio. But it's basically what you do, why you do it, how you transform lives, what means you use to do that, what the outcome is for people. Photos. I've mentioned this quite a bit before, how important it is to have photos if you're contacting the press. This is photos of you. You don't have to have professional brand images, but again, it's a good idea. I know some of you have. In fact, Helen, I saw some great shots of you on Facebook this week, new ones. that looks lovely. And Sandy, I know you've got loads of brand pictures, haven't you? I think
Yeah, and actually I've got Yolanda's gonna I've booked one of her sessions because she's got one of those quick 20-minuters coming up. So
amazing. Yolanda is a friend of ours and she is a fantastic photographer. So if anybody needs new brand shots, she does do quickie sessions which are, you know, affordable, and she is a brilliant photographer. She always gets the best out of people. She's very good with women like us. She's very good. Yolanda, what's her surname? Yolanda
De Vries.
De Vries.
I'll put a link to her latest session in the chat.
She's great. So you want them to be high res and color. It's a good idea to wear some color. Even if it's not a bright color, just wear some color because it just looks better in, especially, you know, editorial of any kind, you know, unless it's newsprint. Magazines, for example, always prefer a bit of color. Even if it's just a lipstick or an earring, you know, a bit of color is always good. Yes, Helen.
I will put cream on mine.
I know.
Yeah,
I
is that okay though?
I did notice you looked absolutely lovely in those shots. So yes, but it's you know, it's not a rule. It's not a rule to wear color. It's just a good idea. What's a good idea if you ever do another shoot or get, you know, you might get a friend to take some pictures of you on their iPhone. Just make sure that they are high resolution and preferably wear a bit of color if you can. But like I say, it's not obligatory, and those shots would be fantastic in a magazine. So don't worry about it. But as I say, if you ever do take pictures for editorial, you know, for your brand, some color's good. If you offer yourself or your story as a case study, so, you know, if you see a shout out for, what was I looking for last week? I was looking for something in particular. I was looking for parents of children who have struggled to get work experience. It's something I was writing. And I was speaking to case studies. And the next step is always, can you provide a photo of your child? Can you provide a photo of you? So if you were putting yourself forward for an article about, I don't know, say entrepreneurship, or you know, possibly your subject area, you would quite possibly be asked to provide yourself as a case study, and you'd need a picture of you. If the story's about something that's happened in the past, I've used the example here about giving up alcohol. You'd want an old picture of you with a drink in your hand, for example, or if it's about your career, you might want a shot of you when you were younger in your early career. Does that make sense? Pictures are often needed to, well, they are a vital part of being in the press. Please, please, please label your photos. When I say label, I mean when you're saving a JPEG, you know, say onto your desktop or, you know, ready to send to a journalist, where it says save as, don't leave the serial number on there. Change the serial number of the JPEG to your name and preferably the date. You know, if it was 2017 or whatever, put that on there. Journalists can spend hours sifting through multiple case study shots. I know this personally, and it is a bugbear. Okay, case studies. Oops, I've jumped the gun. So I cannot stress enough how helpful these can be to get you into the press. So this is case studies as in people who you have helped, or people who are an example of something that you help people with. Editors love to put a human face to a story to help readers understand the real life impact of the subject being covered. It underlines the fact that the problem is real. To give an article greater depth, editors need extra elements to give different viewpoints. One story alone may not be enough. So you may be an example of something. You know, you may talk about, I don't know, you may talk about how you rebuilt your confidence, Amanda, for example, maybe, and then and be a case study, and then you may provide case studies of women who you've helped. Tracking down case studies is time consuming, so having one ready to offer with a pitch can make all the difference to getting your pitch over the line. So it's worth doing this work now. What makes a good case study is somebody who's comfortable with their story and their picture appearing in the press. So that's a discussion to have with them. They're genuinely happy talking publicly about their experience and how it affects them. So not just, I was made redundant. They would need to talk about, well, what were the long-term implications of being made redundant? Did it affect their marriage? Did it affect their weight? Did they lose sleep? They need to be able to talk it through. And so you would need to sort of discuss that with them and just say, are you happy going into this, going into the problems and if not, which bits do you not want to discuss? And another thing that makes a good case study is if it's a subject they're keen to highlight, they may feel empowered by sharing their story. This is often true. People are often really keen, surprisingly keen, to share difficult experiences because it's something that they really, really feel passionately about. A few rules: get their permission, basically check that they are definitely happy to be interviewed by a journalist. Check that they're happy to be identified, as in named and pictured. Or do they only want to appear anonymously? In which case you would need to let a journalist know. Some publications are quite happy to have anonymous case studies. Some absolutely insist on identified case studies. Are they reliable and genuinely available? I cannot tell you the number of times I've contacted somebody who said they're happy to be a case study, and then they've been flaky, they've gone quiet on me, or they're away for the next 3 weeks. So just do your due diligence and check that this person is reliable. Are there any legal or confidentiality issues? So where this might be the case is if you've got someone talking about, say, I don't know, divorce, or I'll give you an extreme example where there were legal and confidentiality issues, where I was interviewing a woman whose husband had cheated on her, and she'd gone on to divorce him and now leads a happy life. But talking about the fact that he'd cheated on her, and with her being identified, it meant that he was identifiable. And that could have affected his career, the fact that he was identifiable because she was identifiable, if you see what I mean. Anyone who knew them both could go, oh, that's blah, blah. She was married to blah, blah, wasn't she? God, he cheated on her. That's terrible. And he's a whatever, an upstanding member of the public. That can't be right. Potentially somebody could lose their job or could lose their new relationship or whatever. So there are legal and confidentiality issues where somebody else's life is being talked about who isn't there to, just to put their case forward. So ask yourself that question. With case studies, check, are there publications they're not happy to appear in? People can have very strong feelings about certain publications. I'm sure you know which ones. The Sun. Some people refuse to be in the Daily Mail. Some people are desperate to be in the Daily Mail. You have to decide that for yourself, really. Daily Mail has the biggest circulation in the country, but it's the Daily Mail. And if you don't like its politics, or you don't like the way the stories are written, or whatever, that's a choice. Is the case study happy to provide their own photos? It's important for them to know that they can refuse to answer questions they're not comfortable with, and they can also withdraw entirely. You don't have to go through with an interview you're not comfortable with. Occasionally, a journalist will be happy with you providing a case study that you've conducted. For example, for your website, you might have case studies on your website, and they might just pick out the bits they want. But more often than not, they will want to interview your case study according to their brief, which might be quite different to what you have on your website, you know. Any questions about case studies? Does anybody have any questions? No. Okay. So on to pitching strategy. I'm going to be sending you all a bespoke list each of 10 journalists that or editors that I think would be good for you. Some of you have requested certain publications, and that's great. If you have specific requirements, do let me know. Because in some cases I'll have to look them up, you know, I'll have to find them for you. Although I do have, you know, quite a lot of journalist contacts already, but yeah, let me know. So when you're pitching, I'm gonna send you pitching guidance. I think I've already sent it to you actually. Yes, I've already. Did you receive the pitching guide? You did. Okay, good. I've done that. Tick. So whether you have a master press release, so this is what we've been working on this last week, or a newsy one announcing something new. So if one of you writes a book or launches a podcast or creates a campaign, or you might do your own survey, we talked about that last week. That would be a newsy press release. Send it out as widely as possible. This is called spray and pray. You can get great results from doing it, but it is far, far better to have 10 well-chosen journalists. So this is what I'm going to send you, who are really specific to what you do, your sector. You know, will have a genuine interest in what you can say. Personalized newsworthy stories targeted at specific journalists and publications are far more likely to reap rewards and build long-term relationships. Sandy, you found this, I think, haven't you? That you've been able to build relationships with certain journalists.
Yeah, so initially, certainly with Women and Home magazine, it was just they specifically asked for some information about, I don't know, capsule wardrobing. And then on the back of that, I've had 2 or 3 journalists from the same magazine write to me now and say, what's your view on? Which has been, and so then, you know, it's not regular, but it's more regular, maybe sort of 4 or 5 times a year.
But
I'll manage to get quoted.
That's amazing. That's exactly what everybody wants. That's the dream. The same thing happened with a friend of mine who I put in touch a long time ago. I put her in touch with a particular publication, and as a result of that, the journalists who worked on that publication, who then moved to other publications, still contacted her afterwards because she was very quotable. So be very quotable.
And I think it's to be really quick. You know, if they ask for it today, you've got to send it today. Even if they say that the deadline's tomorrow, you know, and I'm doing it at 11 o'clock at night, I will still do it. So it's there today.
When you say send it, did they want you to write something?
Yeah.
So that does happen. Sometimes a journalist in a hurry, if they know that you can write because maybe they've seen your Substack or, you know, or they're just impressed with your profile, you know, your online profile, they might ask you to write something, like write some tips or some comments on a particular thing. But more often than not, they'll actually want to interview you on the phone or occasionally on Zoom or Teams. But yeah, those kind of long-term relationships are fantastic. They are the dream, because it means that you know you're considered a trusted source, which Sandy, you clearly are, which is happy days.
Thank you. And you start, I mean, I have to say, I spoke to you about this before, but I've started to get slightly cheekier now in that I've got an idea and I will say to them, this is happening in the next sort of 2 or 3 months. Do you want to write something about this now so it's ready to go?
Yeah.
So
that's pitching.
You know, and then you're giving them fuel for future stories.
Which they're desperate for, because they have, especially if they're a newspaper, they've got, every day they're having to find ideas and plan future issues. If they can say to their editor, I've got a great idea for October, because and they probably won't even say Sandy Lancaster suggested it. They'll probably pretend they came up with it themselves. You know what I mean? But ultimately they've got quotas to fill. And so great ideas and giving them a heads up about something that's coming up is you're doing them a big favor. So that's when you develop your confidence enough, as Sandy clearly has, to just be cheeky and go, I've got a great idea for you. And if they like you, they'll listen. So think about, who do you want to target? Which audience could convert into clients? So I think, Sandy, Woman and Home probably is a very good market for you. There are others, of course, but think what audience would convert into clients for you? Is it newspapers? Is it magazines? Is it BBC? Is it Good Morning Britain? Do you know what I mean? It's like, where are your clients likely to be reading, watching, listening, podcasts as well, of course. And radio, sorry, I forgot to say radio. Which publications will boost your prestige? So it's great to be able to go, I'm quoted in Vogue, or I'm quoted in Forbes, or I'm quoted in The Times. That's brilliant. Obviously that boosts your prestige. You might not have clients who read those. It's quite possible they don't, but it still gives you that clout, doesn't it? That authority. Which publications are most likely to be a fit for you and be interested in what you have to say? So, working out, and this requires a bit of research, reading the publications that you think are most likely to be a fit for you. Well, really look at that and think, where do I see myself in this? Where do I see myself in this newspaper or this magazine or this online site? Is there a slot where I would absolutely make sense as one of their experts? Because there's no point going for ones that just are not realistic for you. Well, there is a point, because everybody should reach for the stars, of course. But if you're limited in terms of how much time you have to do this, make it focused and targeted. It's also worth thinking about which publications have the biggest circulation. I just mentioned the Daily Mail. You've got a number of magazines that are still doing very well, that have big circulation online if they don't have it in print. So it's worth considering that. And if anybody wants to ask me about that, I can look into it for you, what's actually going to, but also it's worth thinking about, well, which publications are, it might be a niche publication. I don't know what the circulation, for example, is of Psychology's magazine, but it's so well respected and so loved by people that are into that kind of thing. It's like, well, it might sell, I don't know, it might sell 30,000, but those 30,000 might be absolutely your core market. So that's worth thinking about. Can you genuinely provide value and insight to the journalist's audience and offer unique, I don't know what the word is because you're all in the word there, unique tips? And like I said, browse recent headlines, look for regular slots. And if you're targeting an industry magazine, I'm trying to think if anybody would be. Helen, you might be targeting an industry magazine. Yeah. Sometimes you can locate a forward features list on its website. You have a look in the press section of an industry magazine, like an education magazine maybe, or employment, HR. See if you can find a forward features list. because it'll say what topics they're going to be covering, and then you can pitch to them and say, I see you're planning to cover, internships in your October issue. I would love to be, to offer some input on this. So following up, once you've pitched to an editor or a journalist, do it right and you build lasting relationships. Do it wrong and you can get blacklisted. So if you just bombard over and over again, you can get blacklisted. People can get just fed up of their inbox being cluttered with emails from you. So, do it once, then try again with a slightly tweaked pitch and ideally some new information. So you might change the statistic, or you might definitely change the headline and the subject line. So they feel like you're sending them something a bit new, a bit different. Good follow-ups offer new value, not repetition. So don't resend the same pitch with just checking in. Share a new data point that emerged since you first reached out, or a different fact or statistic, or a further newsy angle that might resonate better. It might be a celebrity angle, it might be a storyline in a soap, but something else that kind of moves your angle on, moves the story on. So something slightly new, but also points out to them, look, this is still relevant, this is still going on. And bear in mind, you're contacting them thinking, I've got this great press release. I'm sending them a brilliant pitch. It's right up their street. I know because I've researched the publication. Why aren't they getting back to me? There can be so many reasons why. They could have just written an article about the subject. They could have just commissioned one already, and so they don't need to do another one. Or maybe their editor has just said, we're not doing any more on this. We've done enough this year. Do you know what I mean? There could be so many reasons why. Skip the follow-up. So if you're tracking, some people really like to track email engagement. So skip the follow-up if your email was only opened once with no engagement, because that means they have checked you out and they've decided no. Skip the follow-up if more than 2 weeks have passed with zero interaction. If you've already followed up once and got no response, or if the news is no longer timely. The news does move on. Right now we're all talking about the World Cup, Jude Bellingham, Mexico, everything that's going on over in America relating to football. In 2 or 3 weeks' time, I mean, I know some people will still be going on about it, but the news will have moved on. And so angles relating to that would no longer be pertinent for you because, everything will have already been commissioned relating to them. By then, I mean, it won't even be Wimbledon, will it? We'll have already finished Wimbledon. Some other big sporting event will be happening by then, no doubt. If you've pitched it twice and got no response, move on. But do get back in touch with them when a different news hook provides you with the opportunity to write a new pitch. So don't be put off by silence. Just come back at it again, but with a different news hook. As I say, the news is always moving on. News hooks, come thick and fast. I think that might be it for this one.
Marina, would that apply solely for if you're sending out a new announcement newsy press release, or would that also apply? So if we're sending initially our master press releases, if they're literally not interested in what you've put on in that press release, the master one, do you then tweak it as we've just said and resend it, or?
No, it's the pitch that you're tweaking, not the press release.
Sorry.
The press release.
Okay.
The press release. The press release is doing the job of telling everybody who might be interested about you. The pitch is you saying, I don't know, say somebody has just gone on, somebody's just gone on Dragon's Den and, oh no, that's not a good example. I don't know. Say there's a new statistic about female entrepreneurship.
Mm.
Say that there's a brand new one that comes along, that would give you the opportunity to pitch again, but pitch with this new information.
Yeah.
Or it might be a celebrity angle, or it might be something relating to mental health, something relating to, mental health and entrepreneurship.
So we don't change the press release at all. That it's the pitch itself in the email. Yeah.
The thing with your press releases, you're using statistics that are relatively fresh, aren't you? You're all using in your press release, you're using one or two, or in some cases, three statistics or links, that are relatively fresh. In about a year's time, you might want to update your press release and get something fresher. Helen, by then, there'll be a new statistic about NEETs. It'll probably be worse than the one that's out right now. I'm pretty certain it will. So you would want to update your press release to reflect that. And maybe there'd be a quote from Andy Burnham or whoever, about the number of NEETs, and you might want to quote that in your press release, just so that you bring it up to date. You're still announcing yourself and your expertise, but you're updating the information. Richie.
Hi, I guess the question from me is, if you've got like different strands of work, so for example, with what I do, I've got the customer service side, but then I also have the employment side. The press release that I wrote and sent to you was more around the customer service side, because that's the bit that I really want to try to grow.
Yeah.
But do you have any advice? Like, would you have different press releases for different? Yeah.
I think so. In your case, I would, because I feel like what you do is needs explaining, and you explain it really well. I think if you then start to put in a further strand, it's complicated enough as it is. So I would do a second one. I can help you with that. But I would definitely do a second one, which will include a lot of the same information, especially information about you, but you would need to mention in both press releases that you do both services, but then one would go into one and one would go into the other in more detail. Does that make sense?
That's really helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions about pitching, about stop sharing. How do I do this? I can't remember. Did anyone have the chance to look through the pitch email guidance that I sent over last night? I just wondered if anyone had any questions. I mean, it's quite straightforward. It is literally, how to write a pitch email, how to interact once you've made that initial contact, how to write your subject line. I'm sure you'll read it and just think, well, all that's really obvious. Why is she telling us that? But I think it just helps to have it all laid out there, because often people come back to me and say, how long should a pitch email be? Or, what do I put in the subject line so that it's, does it need to be formal? How do I sign off? There's all those questions that you might have, I've hopefully answered. But if you have any other questions that I haven't answered, once you've had a look through, do get back to me. And as I say, I'll be sending you your list. What time is it? Are we all right for time? I haven't even looked. I'll be sending you your list of journalists to contact. So if you haven't sent me your press release, I think, Helen, did you send me yours? I can't remember. You did.
Yeah, I only sent it this morning, so I'm very sorry.
No, you've done it. No, that's the main thing. I think that means you've all done your You've all done them actually now, have you? Yes. Sandy, did you send me yours?
Yeah, but just before we started, so
Okay.
you won't have had time to read it.
No, but you all got in time. That's okay. That's the main thing. And I will get back to you in the next few days, with a few comments and suggestions and so on. And then hopefully by next week you'll be ready to start pitching. What I thought would be helpful rather than have another Zoom session, I thought it would be a good idea to have a little one-to-one with each of you. How do you feel about that? Because then I can give you all a bit of tailored advice. And we can do that either next week or the week after. I mean, I'm happy to do it whenever. I can set up a Calendly, and then you can just book a time with me, and talk through, your individual questions, because you're all from different sectors, and so I think it makes sense to give you each a little bit of one-to-one, if that's okay. Yeah. So I think we already have a Zoom call booked for next Wednesday. I'm cancelling that, but I'm going to send you a Calendly link to book time with me. Yeah? Is that okay? Okay.
Yeah.
Any further questions? It was lovely to see you, Sandy. We were on a beach in St Leonard's on Saturday for a friend's picnic and frolicking. Well, it wasn't sand, Sandy, was it? It was stones. But I went for a swim.
It was a lovely day.
It was such a great day. It was so much fun. Great. Any further questions, or shall we all go and dip our heads in a paddling pool?
Bucket of water.
I do actually. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think Gwen might have been first with her hand up.
No, you were first.
Oh, okay.
Go.
Just two quick questions. The first was, if you have case studies on your website, for example, I've got a couple of recommendations from different businesses I've worked with. Do I need to, if a publication wanted to use those, would I need to contact those organisations and let them know and get permission as well?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a good idea to do that sooner rather than later, just to say, if I were to get an opportunity to speak to the press and they wanted a case study, that I've supported, would you be up for that? Just check that with them. The more you can do, the more you can do in advance, the better, because if a journalist is writing something in a hurry, and they often are, especially if it's for a newspaper, they might have to turn it around that day. They want, and they say, have you got any case studies? You need to be able to say, yes, definitely, it's this people, and here's a quote from them, or here's their contact details to get a quote from them. Yeah.
Great. And then, sorry, one more on that person. The other thing is around, if you're working with vulnerable people and potentially wanting to use them as case studies as well, I'm sort of thinking, and I don't know if this would be helpful for Gwen as well, but one of the things I was thinking about is creating, and you may already have something like this, but something that really explicitly explains all of the potential, like what could happen if you do decide to be a case study. So for example, people contacting you, or the fact that very often what I see is people when they're especially with a new diagnosis, for example, part of that process might be that they want to talk about it a lot with people, but actually might not be ready to, and maybe don't think about the consequences of going public with something like that. And I just wondered if you had anything like that, or it could be something that we could create. I'd be happy to create that, but just wondered if there was anything out there.
I think that's a really good idea. I mean, I kind of think it should be done for all case studies anyway, because we talk.
That's a good point. Yeah,
we talk through in some detail what being a case study entails and all the issues around how comfortable do you feel, the implications of your story being in the press. You might feel differently. You might feel comfortable talking to a journalist one-to-one, but you might feel differently once you see, there's your face, there's your story. Oh my God, how do you feel? Do you know what I mean? It's a different thing. Sometimes people are fine with it, but sometimes people are not. And so I think that's a really good idea. But it doesn't exist.
Great.
I think possibly some magazines and newspapers will have created some kind of form for case studies to sign, but I've never done that myself. I do talk it through with people when I interview them, but I would say in your case, and Gwen, it would make absolute sense to do that around the sensitivity
Great.
they feel. Yeah. Gwen,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Mine was just, I put something in the comments earlier that when you were talking about the bio and stuff, because I'd got a bio that was created for me previously, and there was also like a short podcast one, which both of them need to be kind of dusted off and updated. So is that something we could maybe talk about in our one-to-one as well then? Is that, or
Yeah.
like I could maybe have a go at updating them alongside the press release, and just, yeah, feels like it'd be a good, like when you're talking about the press kit, it feels like it's kind of good. Well, I've got things there. I've moved on. Things need to be updated. So like do it all as a one if that's available.
If there's time, definitely. I'll only have,
Yeah.
half an hour per person.
Right, okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so I'd need to have as much as it up to date as possible then and get you to have a look over it or what have you.
What would
Okay.
be a good idea? I think what would be a good idea, Gwen, is once we've got your press release sorted,
Yeah,
you can then transfer some of the wording from the press release into your bio.
right. Rather than do the two thing. Okay, good. Yeah, makes sense. Thank
The
you.
phrasing that you use, the description of what you do and who you do it for and so on, all of that will be absolutely
Yeah. Just use
right.
that.
Yeah. And then I can check that over for you, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, fab.
Uh any other comments, questions? No? Okie dokie. Right, I'll send the Calendly link out and once I've sent you feedback for your press release, do send me another version. Let's get these absolutely spot on. So
Yeah.
when we're ready, so we're ready for next steps. And also, if there are particular publications that you're interested in that you perhaps didn't mention in your onboarding booklet at the start, do contact me. So Amanda, I know you've already done that, haven't you? Anyone else, if you've got any strong feelings about, now I know more about what it entails, these are the publications or the sites, it's magazines, etc. that I want to target, do let me know so I can be researching those for you. Okay?
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Have a
everyone.
good afternoon,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.